Hey everyone, Chris here with a video all about Shigeru Miyamoto. After Miyamoto turned 68 this November, the New Yorker's Simon Parkin had the chance to speak with him at length, discussing all sorts of topics such as what Nintendo's offices look like, what he thinks of people comparing him to Walt Disney, and what his strengths and weaknesses are as a boss. So let's jump into some of the highlights. He talked about Nintendo's offices in Kyoto and how the outside is very simple and clean. Some people have even likened the reception area to a hospital waiting room. And when it comes to the environment of the offices themselves, Miyamoto said that if a child were to visit and look at the space, it might actually seem boring. They have a system where designers switch desks according to whatever project they are working on. So because there are no fixed placements, people don't have many personal belongings around them. He says the unique creative work takes place within each person, so it doesn't require a unique looking environment. Moving on, he then talked about himself being compared to Walt Disney, and how soon after Super Mario became famous, someone told him that he reached the status of Walt Disney. He pointed out, however, that Mickey Mouse was more than 50 years old, whereas Mario was only around 2 or 3 years old at the time. Walt Disney didn't create everything Disney put out, but Miyamoto admired the idea that a company could make such long-lasting symbols. Now we are at a point where people who played with Nintendo's characters as children are doing the same with their own children, and Miyamoto believes that longevity is special. At the same time, however, Miyamoto also said that his children played SEGA games. And rather than making him feel jealous, that just inspired him to try harder, so that his children would prefer the games that he made. If Miyamoto could change the world, he would make it so that people were more thoughtful and kind toward each other. This is something he thinks a lot about as he moves through life. He provided the example of priority seating on train carriages in Japan, for people who are elderly or have a disability. If the train is relatively empty, sometimes he'll see young people sitting in those seats. And if someone were to say something, they would probably respond, "But the train is empty. What's the issue?" Miyamoto thinks that if he was a person with a disability and saw someone sitting there, he might not want to ask them to move, as he wouldn't want to be annoying. So he wishes we were all a little more compassionate in these small ways. That one in particular isn't really about games at all, but it's also just cool to hear about his perspective on the world. Moving on, Miyamoto talked about how humans are wired to experience joy in throwing a ball and hitting a target. But when it comes to games, he resists focusing on that single source of pleasure. For example, he resists the idea that it's okay to simply kill all monsters, as even they have a motive. Say you have a scene where a battleship is sinking. When viewed from the outside perspective, this could seem like a victory, but a filmmaker or writer might shift perspective to the inside of the ship, and enable a close view of the human impact of the situation. Miyamoto believes it would be great if video game makers took more steps to shift perspectives like this, instead of always viewing a scene from the most obvious angle. After this, Miyamoto was asked what kind of boss he is, to which he responded, "People probably imagine he is very nice. But if you ask people on the front lines who actually work with him, they might say he is very picky and that he always comments on their work. He's aware that there is a feeling among people who work with him that they do not receive adequate praise. As a boss, he believes his strength is that he's able to paint a compelling picture of what a project can be, while remaining concerned with the details of realizing that dream. As such, he also gets the confused experience of people seeing him as a negative person when he's handling details, and as a positive person when talking about the broader vision." He was also asked about themes such as sadness, loss, and grief in games, and how that plays into his game-making mindset when it comes to making experiences for children and families. Miyamoto explained that video games are an active medium, and complex emotions are difficult to deal with in interactive media. With Nintendo, he wants characters to bring families together and provide a warm feeling. He shares an experience he recently had playing Captain Toad with his grandchild, where the whole family was gathered around the television, and used that as a reason to explain why he doesn't have any regrets for keeping a positive perspective in games. If anything, he wishes he could have provided more cheer and more laughter in his career. He concludes by talking about the state of Nintendo now, and how he believes they are moving toward a position that will ensure the spirit of Nintendo is passed down successfully to younger developers. He is not concerned with that anymore. Now he focuses on finding new experiences, such as the theme park at Universal, and that this is always what has interested and excited him about the medium. Not perfecting the old, but discovering the new. So there you have it, a huge interview with Shigeru Miyamoto, and there is even more than what we covered here, so as always, we'll have a link to the full thing in the description. Be sure to check it out and let us know your thoughts on all of this down below. Thanks guys for watching, and subscribe to Game Explained for more on Nintendo and plenty of other things gaming too. Till next time, bye!